end, but now we have to be really careful about what we say. But I want to thank everyone for joining. I joined the Bowling Green Club when I was in my mid-20s, and I always kind of joked around and said when I joined the club that the average age dropped down to 95. So, you know, we since then have had a concerted effort towards attracting, doing our best, and trying to find ways to attract young professionals. And I want to remind you all of a study that I read a couple years ago from Rotary International that talked about why are young people attracted to Rotary. What is it about young people that are drawing them to? Because some clubs are just simply not drawing young professionals, and others it seems to come natural. And the result of that study was that the reason that young professionals are attracted to Rotary is not because of the meals, and it's not because of the programs, but it was because of the opportunity to be mentored by leaders in their community. Because these are people that were drawn to Rotary because they also want to be leaders in their community. And so they want to be leaders in your community, just as they want to be leaders here in Bowling Green. They are there, I promise you, now more than ever, after this pandemic and wherever we find ourselves right now. There are people who are looking for organizations such as Rotary, and more young people than ever. I promise they are there. We're seeing it here, and we're going to hear from a couple of success stories here shortly as well. But we also have Lee Perry joining us. Lee, thank you for your help with this today. And Lee had a couple of questions to kick us off here at the beginning. And Lee, if you would, let's roll the first question. This is kind of an obvious question, I think, but it kind of tosses the softball out there to you. How important is it to attract young professionals to Rotary? And, you know, believe it or not, there are different feelings about that. You know, there are some clubs who just say, well, we like being the way that we are. And then there are other clubs who realize that, hey, you know, there are things that we can contribute, and there are things that we just simply cannot contribute. You know, everybody who's a part of a Rotary Club brings something to the table. And for some people, it may be the checkbook. I mean, let's just say it the way that it is. It's hard to do what Rotary does without money. And that's something that young professionals don't necessarily have. But one thing that they do have is time. One thing that they do have is energy. And one thing that they do have is the desire to work together to accomplish big things in their community. And I mean big things. So when these factors all come together, great things can happen. So I don't have the results of that first question, but we do have a second question. So let's look at the second question. Lee?
Travis, can you see that she's shared those results? That now it went back, but
Got
anyway.
it. Okay.
Okay.
What is the biggest challenge that you face in attracting young professionals? And this is something that I hope, as you honestly answer this question, that you'll listen for solutions for over the next hour. You know, lack of awareness, cost of membership, lack of time, poor perception of Rotary, finding candidates. You know, a lot of them just don't really know what Rotary is. They may define Rotary as something that a bunch of old people are a part of. You know, they may define Rotary as an auction. They may define Rotary as a clock. In Bowling Green, we have a big clock on our square downtown. And for some people, that's their perception of what Rotary is all about. But there's so much more than that. So, you know, just to kind of get you thinking about perhaps what is it in your particular community, what is the biggest challenge that you feel that you face in attracting young professionals? It seems like lack of awareness is a popular answer, and I agree with that completely. And so, you know, whose fault is that? You know, it's my fault that the bowling here in Bowling Green that people don't know more about Rotary. It's the other Rotarians' fault as well. So there are solutions with that for sure, and we're going to talk about some of those here today. So again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. We're going to have some presentation time, and we're going to start off with Alan Gaddis with Campbellsville Club. And Alan, when he's done, we'll have a period of some questions and answers, and then we'll move on after that. Alan, are you with us?
There we go. How about that?
There you go. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Sorry that I kind of slid in there just a little bit late. I was having issues getting the link, and then when I would click it, my Zoom would freeze for a moment. So it was just trying to be a bit difficult, but here I am with bells on, so we're good to
Hey,
go.
so the idea of what we're wanting to do here is really kind of share, because you guys are doing some great things. And, even though we are in Bowling Green as well, there's always something that we can learn from each other. And that's how good teams come together. That's how good causes grow. So if you would just kind of talk to us about what's going on in your club, maybe even if you can take us back in time a little bit, say, hey, here's what we've been here's where we were, here's what we've been doing, and here's what's working.
Sure. So, I wish there was some magical formula, but the reality is a lot of times it just comes down to somebody putting in some hard work and trying to rally the troops and put a little focus on what's going on. We kind of went through this period that we were a fairly vibrant club several years ago, but we were kind of heavily in some older folks. And so we just kind of had this perfect storm where we had several people retire out, several people die, and then we had a number of people moved out of town because of retirements and job changes, mainly retirements. And so we found ourselves, going from a club that was like 25 or 30, pretty strong, to all of a sudden we were having 5 and 6 people. I say all of a sudden, it really wasn't all of a sudden. It was kind of a slow bleed out, but we were having 5 and 6 people attending. And, a Rotary Club roll is much like a church roll. If everybody shows up, you're not sure where you put them all anyway, but you never get 100% attendance, it seems like. So we had, I believe we got down as low as maybe 13 or 14, something like that. And I've been in the club now for 18 years, I guess, probably 17 or 18 years. And so I've kind of watched, and sometimes the worst thing that can happen to a club is leadership change, because it's hard to get any continuity going in a one-year term, or it's hard enough to do that. And then I feel like what happens a lot of times is we have this tendency, well, again, I've said this many times speaking to Rotary, there's a lot of similarities between a Rotary Club and church, because church has this tendency when somebody new comes in and gets a little involved, we start just dumping everything on them. And we make them Sunday school teachers and put them on this committee, we put them on that committee. And the next thing you know, we've burned them out. And so I literally sat beside somebody at a PETS training that was president, that was coming into president, and they'd only been in the club like 2 months of the club that they were going to be in. And they literally had walked in and they had asked him to be president the second meeting they were there. And they had taken it, they had taken it. So those are the kinds of things that we're setting ourselves up for failure when we allow those kinds of things to happen. So what we've done at Campbellsville Club over the course of just the last year really is we just kind of made a renewed focus on, okay, who are we? What do we want to be known for in the community? And then how do we get that message out there? So we have recruited. I mean, the way that I wound up in Rotary is a guy walked up to me and goes, hey, I need you to go with Rotary to me. I need you to be my guest. And it was somebody that I respected, that I thought a lot of, and I just couldn't tell them no. I mean, they were older than me, and they were highly respected. And then the next thing that happened was, after I went to a Rotary meeting with him, he invited me and my wife to his house to meet his wife and have dessert. And he done that with us and one more couple. So, those little personal touches made me want to be involved in that club. And then once I was in, really what made me stay initially was the people that were in the club were people I felt like I needed to be networking with. They were people well connected in the community, and kind of the people that I wanted to be around. So I've spent many years in the club, and I served as president before, and I was really super busy, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do as far as with my tenure, and I was still learning Rotary. And so I feel like that's part of the issue is we have to educate people on what Rotary is, and then develop them as leaders, not just leaders in general, because many of them come into the club as leaders, but leaders on how to be a Rotarian leaders. So I implemented Club Day. The first, we meet on Wednesdays at noon. So the first Wednesday of every month is Club Day. So Club Day is not just a time to do nothing. Club Day is a time to instill Rotary into their bloodstream. So I use the resources available from any place that I can get it to learn more about Rotary. And we usually have a slide, a PowerPoint slide deck, whatever the current terminology is for a presentation on something about Rotary. I've brought in people in the community, in the district, to speak on things like RILA and foundation and just different things, because sometimes just a different voice helps. And then a lot of times when somebody is semi-local but not completely local, they have some name recognition, but maybe they're not already worn out into the community, then people have a tendency to listen a little bit better. So I feel like that's made a big difference. I made these cards. Let's see here, there you go. And it says Campbellsville Rotary, proud to be a Rotarian. On the front of it, then the back of it, it's got all the good stuff on it. There we go. And then there's a place you can write. So you write if they're not individualized or anything. So on that space here, you can write your name, and then you can invite people to Rotary. So I pass out about 10 of these about every couple of months to each Rotarian. I take 10 of them, I put a rubber band around them, and I put them at everybody's placeholder before they come in. So then I ask them over the course of the next 2 months to pass those out to people and invite people in. And I'm not going to tell you it works great. I'm going to tell you it works some. And so enough sums becomes great. Okay. So that has helped us a fair amount. The other thing is, I think that every community cycles. It's just kind of the nature. And so it seems like we've had kind of this influx of newer professionals, bankers, insurance people, things like that, that are in the under 35 demographic, just kind of lately. And so we were kind of intentional about trying to kind of recruit a few of those people. And once we got one or two, those, they kind of, I think when one of them sees one of the other one doing something, they automatically kind of want to do it too. So we've gained about, well, I think we've added 14 or 15 people since July 1st. And out of that, half or more are in that demographic. They're under 35. They're newer professionals. In fact, some of them, we watched them, they come in and they go to work for a bank and they stay there a year or something, and then they move to somewhere else, and they're kind of trying to find their footing. One or two of them has moved into financial services industry. One of them has went from working at the university, like they went to the university, they got the degree, then they went to work for the university, and they worked a few years. Then one of the banks hired them to be their marketing director, because their marketing director actually moved to a school system as the marketing director. So they're all kind of playing little chess matches, moving around, but those people hang out with each other. So if you can get one or two of them involved in Rotary, then the other ones kind of go, all right, well, tell me about what that's about. And so it kind of starts this little process of feeding off each other. So those two things have been really good for us. And the other thing is just Amanda, oh sure, I can send you the card. I was going to tell you too, my real business is printing. So if anybody wants these cards, let me know. We'll do them for you. I normally get $55 a thousand. I'll do them for you for $35 a thousand. and have them shipped straight to you. And we will personalize them. I mean, I say personalize, like your club name, where it says Campbellsville Rotary, it can say your club name and if any change you want to make. We don't do a phenomenal job with this, but I will tell you that I would talk to a president of a club in our region about 2 weeks ago, and the person is actually the president, but they haven't been to Rotary for 3 months. And I was like, how's the club doing? You know, and well, really, to be honest with you, I don't know. I haven't been for a while and all this. So I went and checked their website out, and their website didn't have them as president. It didn't even have the last president as president. It had the president that was president before the person that's president last year. So their website's like 3 years old. Well, my theory has always been you're better off to have no presence than a bad presence on stuff like that. Like you're better off not to have a website up than to have a website that's got all bad, outdated information. So I would encourage you just to kind of go through your Facebook and your website and whatever you've got and try to have it at least moderately current with information. Like if you don't want to put down who all your current membership is, then take the membership tab off, don't have one up there, and don't have broken links on your site and stuff like that. So we've tried to do that. And like I said, we've kind of been intentional about who we kind of tried to recruit. So we wound up getting the publisher of the newspaper. So that's always a really good thing, because if they're involved in your club, they're really eager to tell about your club because they're eager to tell about their club, right? The other thing with newspapers is they love for you to do their job for them. So if you will write an article and submit it, they'll publish it 99% of the time. If you invite them to do something, they're busy, they got deadlines, it's not gonna happen. But if you will write them an article and submit it, they will usually publish it, almost always. If you have an event and you write up an article about it and you submit pictures, even better. But if you'll do their job for them, they will allow you to use them for free advertising. Okay. I don't know how your all's radios is there. Our radio stations are phenomenal about letting us come on and talk for free, talk about events, talk about the club, talk about things that we're partnering in the community with. We've got an event called I just had a brain freeze. Day of Giving, gosh, called the Day of Giving. We've only done it for 10 years. We have 3 major grocery stores in our town. We have 2 Krogers and we have a Walmart grocery, and we have some smaller ones, but those are kind of the bread and butter grocery stores. So on Day of Giving, we partner with all the media people that we can. We partner with the local university. We partner with the local school systems. We partner with the Chamber of Commerce, and then we call a few businesses. And we don't spend a lot on it, but we say, hey, we're going to do this Day of Giving. Would you like to be a sponsor? It's $150, and we're up to about $1,700 or $1,800 before we ever start. Like we got that much in sponsorship money. Now, all the proceeds of this go straight to the food pantry. So last year we collected about 700 bags of groceries. So this year we hope to top that. Last year we collected about $1,400 or $1,500 in cash. We've already got more than that before we ever start this year. So we don't ask people for cash, but we always take cash. We have a real estate company here in town that has a big box truck that they allow their clients to use to move for free. If you buy a house or whatever, you're a client. So they let us use that truck as one of them because they're getting publicity out of it. And then, that's part of what they do with this thing. They want it out in the community. Then the university gives us 2 more trucks. I'm talking about 1-ton box trucks. And we set each one of those. We have one at one Kroger, one at another Kroger, and one by the grocery side exit door of Walmart. And then when people are going in, we have Rotarians there wearing Rotarian shirts, all the things that identifies us as Rotarians. And we give them a little suggested list of items that the food pantry has said makes good items for the food pantry. So whether it's powdered milk or green beans or whatever, staple kind of products, spaghetti and all that, there's a list, and we print it off on a little bitty slip and we put in people's hands as they're going in and said, hey, we're collecting for the food pantry today. If you'd like to make a donation, you know, the big truck over there with the banner on it is where you would drop it off. And it's amazing how many people will go in and just shop that whole list, pay for it, bring it out to us, and then go back in and do their shopping. I mean, they just do that.
Let me ask you real quick about that. Do you feel that that program in particular I mean, do you feel that that helps you to draw more young professionals in because they're interested in being a part of an active program like that?
I think it's just one cog on the wheel. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like anytime you can do an event that gets big publicity, I think the young professionals are looking to plug into areas that they feel like their time is well spent. I don't think that they're looking for just opportunities to come and have lunch. I think they're looking for two things. I think they're looking to network and help themselves. And I think they're looking to plug into things in the community. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I would just add to that, I know of young professionals here in Bowling Green that want to network with people that are in our club. And so rather than go meet with them in their office to get to know them, they can go and they can work on a stuff the bus or something where they're going to get school supplies and they're going to fill this bus with school supplies. And you look over and there's the mayor, you know, or you look over and there's a judge, or you look over and there's the chief of police or whatever it might be. You know, those are the kind of connections that they want to make. And they know, just like we know, they know that, you know, those are the times that you really make connections. It's not when you call somebody up and say, can I come sit in your office for an hour and waste your time?
Yeah, 100%.
That's a great example. Let me if you don't mind, let me open the floor for a few minutes to see if anyone has any questions specifically about what you've said so far and about your club there in Campbellsville. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask? I really like the card idea. I think that I'm not the only one thinking that. And I wrote that, I was writing some notes as you were talking, have a good media presence. And I couldn't agree any more with you on that. You know, be careful not to allow new members to burn out. And I would also say, be careful not to let them just live in the shadows so they back out of the back door and no one ever knew that they were even there. But that's a really good point.
Yeah, and then, I think it's very distinct line between allowing them to serve as opposed to loading them up with responsibility right off the bat. Like get them involved and allow them to kind of direct where they want to serve, as opposed to the second meeting ask them to be president, right?
Right. And keeping in mind that what the study showed was that the number one reason, maybe not the main reason for everybody, but the number one reason that young professionals want to join Rotary is so that they can be mentored. And so when we do have someone join our club who fits that category, maybe we can be a little proactive to say, hey, let me introduce you to this person over here. You probably know him. And they'll be like, well, yeah, everybody knows them. You know, you probably know who she is. Let's go talk to her. And then she's also on this, and I'm going to use as an example, she's on the Flags for Kids committee. And that might be something that you would enjoy, to give you an opportunity to get to know that whole committee over there.
Right.
And so that, you know, to get them plugged in, but maybe not put them up in the president's role, put the gavel in their hand in the first couple of months. No doubt.
Well,
so
a couple of other things that we have done, I feel like that to changes. One of the good things out of the COVID experience was the ability to bring in speakers via Zoom that you wouldn't necessarily have thought about before. So we've had people that maybe couldn't drive down here and speak in person that are higher level people in state government. Right. Things like that have made great speakers for us. And people have learned things that I think the younger professionals, it's been some information imparting that they wouldn't have gotten, you know, anywhere else really. We've got a speaker coming up in just a few weeks, maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, actually next Wednesday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. That is with a think tank out of Clemson, and they have a double PhD in economics, and they're part of a nonprofit think tank that actually reaches out and asks to speak to Rotaries and things like that. And so when I reached out and talked to the CEO of that organization, and I mean, I've got probably 3 or 4 speakers I'm going to use over the course of the next year out of that group. I mean, even down to Janet Yellen or whoever the Treasury Secretary is one of those speakers that does this for free.
Wow.
So it's some amazing speakers that you can get to come in by Zoom. So we kind of set up our Zoom stuff where that we can have a pretty decent setup for Zoom. And so we still do both. So we're live, but if you can't make it today for some reason, you're traveling or whatever, you can join us via Zoom now. And so you can see the program, you can hear a program, and you can even interact if you've got questions. And you may be traveling to vacation in Florida and in your car on the way down. So every week, we will generally have at least 1 to 3 people on our Zoom side that's logged in, even though we're there and live. So most of our speakers are live now, but occasionally we still bring a speaker in live because of the ability to bring them in. We had somebody with Kentucky Educational Television as a speaker maybe a couple months ago. So I think some of that has also been very attractive to young professionals because they're being exposed to some people that they probably wouldn't be exposed to any other way.
And I like going back to your card. I like the idea of the card because it allows a personal touch of any Rotarian to write their name on the card, hand it out, and it also opens the door for some kind of a game, that you could play with your club to say, hey, let's see who can get the most cards turned in from
Well,
young
it's also
professionals.
a very easy way to make an introduction and invite people to Rotary, as opposed to having to start, from scratch. You got this card that you can place in their hand, and so it's a really non-confrontational way to invite somebody for sure.
No, absolutely. And I'm surprised. It doesn't bother me to invite somebody, but I know that sometimes making that ask is something that's really difficult to. So as we transition over to Autumn, I want to just throw out just something that I use when I'm talking to somebody about Rotary. It's kind of a non-confrontational ask to them. It's an invitation, but when they say, well, what's Rotary? What is it? I'll typically say something like, we're a group of, here I wrote it down. We're a part of a mastermind group of community leaders who come together once a week to tackle issues around our community. And some of the projects that we do are even in partnership with other clubs around the world. And so it's so much more than just eating lunch, or so much more in our case of what we have this tremendously successful Flags for Kids program. But as a club, we're so much more than that. But in just simply speaking to somebody, and before I give them that card to say, hey, here, my name's on this card, it's going to get you a free lunch. Come on out, check us out. I'll be looking for you. Let me know. Here's my number. Email me, text me. Let me know you're coming that day, and I'll keep an eye out for you. But hey, this is what we are. We're looking for people that want to join our group of community leaders. We're a mastermind group of community leaders who come together once a week to tackle issues around our community. So, Hey, Alan, thank you so much, and I hope you'll hang out with us for a few more minutes. I'm going to. Time is limited. I'm going to transition over to Autumn. Autumn, are you there with us?
I am.
All right. Well, are you ready to share with us some of the things that you guys are doing?
I am. First, I want to start with how I joined Rotary, how I got involved. Back in probably 2005-ish or so, I sell real estate. That's what I do for a living. I've been a full-time agent. This is 19 years for me. And I found out quickly that my business is not sales. My business is relationships. And I transferred that to Rotary. So my broker encouraged me to go check out a Rotary meeting, see what it's about. Nobody here was a member of Rotary. They just encouraged me to kind of get out in the community a little bit. So that's what I started with. The first meeting I go to, I realized that I was by far the youngest individual in the room. And I was the only woman that day. So it was a little unnerving at first, but I quickly fell in love with all those old guys in the room. They became mentors day one. They encouraged me to join, which I eventually did. And then on my first official meeting as a Rotarian, I was asked to be the secretary next year. So jumped right in. We might have had, I want to say we had about 15 members at that time. And then I served my first year as president in 2009, I believe, 2009, 2010. So I went from secretary to sergeant at arms to president-elect to president, my first 4 years in Rotary. I didn't know a lot about it. I learned as I went. It was an older club. And that whole time I thought, that we're missing, we've got to bring in, we need younger, energetic people. We were known for our pancake breakfast. That's what we did. We did a pancake breakfast every end of February, 1st of March. And that's what brought in our money. We did scholarships. We might have done an international project or two at the time, but that was about it. There wasn't a lot. We came together Thursdays for lunch, basically. After my 4, 5, 6 years, then I had to step away for a little while. Number one, I was burnt out. Nobody was doing anything, I felt like, but me. We had a very small group of the 15 that did anything. And honestly, I just needed to get away for a while. So I did. And I missed it the entire time I was gone. I missed the networking and the camaraderie and everything that went with it. So I was invited to come back a few years ago. And when I did, I was like, man, I was energized. It was a totally different, things had changed. The club went through a major change. We lost a few people during that time, but for the most part, everybody hung in there, and they really liked the things that were happening. We met at a bigger venue, a nicer venue. We had somebody that cooked our lunch for Thursdays for years. She's an honorary Paul Harris Fellow actually now, but I mean that, some people weren't in agreement with meals and all that stuff. So all that got taken care of. It was a brown bag lunch, new place to meet, lots of great things happening. So when I came back, I was like, man, this is cool. The age in the room had dropped. It wasn't as lopsided as it was my first time around, and it was pretty exciting. So fast forward, last year as my president-elect year, I met with Art, our president, and I was like, look, I have ideas. I want to bring people in. We need more workhorses. We had started the Queen of Hearts, which is a very successful fundraiser our club does. And we need workhorses. We need people that can come out on a Tuesday night that aren't going to be at kids' ball games, but have the opportunity to be there to serve their time, because we usually get there between 4 and 5 on Tuesdays, and the drawing's not until 7. And we handle everything. Rotarians handle everything during that time frame. So Art and I met with the board, and we came up with some ideas. In the meantime, I had spotted a few people in our community who had always done things with our club. They were always they would partner with us without asking. And I was like, those are the people I'm going after. So I recruited them without them knowing I was recruiting them for a little while. Again, all about relationships. So recruited them for a while. Eventually got to the point where I invited them. I'm like, hey, come have lunch with me on Thursday. I want you to just see what Rotary is about on a Thursday. And we gained probably 5 or 6 members that way. The other part that we noticed we were having trouble with, more so the young professionals part, it's hard to get somebody who's able to leave work at noon on Thursday in our area, in our community. It's tough. So I kind of went after people that I knew had the opportunity that could step away for work for a little while. You kind of handpick your members without handpicking your members. So that's kind of the direction we went. And then after we get them, how do we keep them? That was the big thing. It's not just about numbers. It's not just about bringing them into the club, but it's about retention. So we have come up with something we haven't implemented yet. My plate has been full. I took on a couple projects. So in January, we're going to start a quarterly networking meeting, and it'll be a night meeting. And it will be at businesses that somebody that I have reached out to be a speaker that can't get away Thursdays at noon because they are the business owner and they're working Thursday at noon. So we'll probably pick one night a quarter and we'll pick one of those local businesses and we'll go there. And it's strictly networking. We'll have drinks and appetizers and check out the business, and that's it. Nothing. So it provides everybody an opportunity. It's kind of outside of the box. That's also for retention, I hope, providing them another opportunity besides for, Thursdays for an hour, listening to a speaker, brown bagging it, and not really having time to really meet with anybody. Like someone mentioned earlier, not necessarily having to go sit in their office for a meeting outside of business hours. Something else that we've done, I thought it was really important. My experience in Rotary, I came in but didn't know a whole lot about it. And I really didn't know. I knew it was good and I knew I wanted to be part of it, but I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go. So now we require new members to have 2 sponsors. So they have to have 2 Rotarian sponsors in our club. That way, if there's a question, they might not know who to turn to. We're not a very big club, but we have some people who are outside of our area. So if they're not in Lawrenceburg every day, if they're not in Anderson County every day, they just come in for Thursday meetings, they have 2 people they can reach out to. If I'm a sponsor and I happen not to be at their meeting, there's someone else there that they can talk to. That way we can also encourage them to be in, somebody touched earlier on committees. You can encourage them to find their direction. That was one thing I decided for my year as presidency. I didn't want our whole club working on everything. I wanted to create committees to hopefully reduce burnout. If the pancake breakfast is your thing, you're on the pancake breakfast committee. You work on it. That's your goal. Everybody will show up the day to help, but planning leading up to it doesn't need everybody. We have a fall festival. We have a fall festival committee. The Queen of Hearts. We have a Queen of Hearts committee, and we have people that work that every Tuesday. Doesn't take our whole club. When the payout was big, that helped. And that just happened to happen the first week of July, as soon as I took my presidency. So that was pretty good for me. Not only for, we paid out $194,000 to the winner, and our club took in like $160,000. But man, the spotlight that we get from that, it has really just opened up some doors. We are out there doing things in our community that we would have never been able to do. And we pick our projects, like the most recent grant that we wrote was for the Veterans Wall. So we partner with the Legion, and we have tons of new contacts with the Legion that, Rotary's kind of, I'd say, building some bridges between those two to be able to partner in the future. And then, one of the big things about the young professionals, the biggest hurdle that we found were not really knowing what Rotary was about. They'll see our Facebook page, which we have the best PR guy out there. He keeps our Facebook page running. But other than seeing a Queen of Hearts post or maybe a picture about who our speaker was on Thursday, a lot of people really didn't understand what Rotary was. And once we kind of explained that and put together a better membership package, it seems to be working. So those are just a few things that we've done, and hopefully we'll continue to use those in the future. But so far, so good.
That membership package might be another tool we could share with folks, Autumn. I know we're talking with Alan about sharing his good card, but if you've got something that you feel like, it might be a nice model for others to look at, we could share that along with the recording when we send that out. We buy the membership package from Rotary, that comes in the nice folder, but we added specifics about our club and kind of some, you get in the medical field and you use all these hyphenated words and all these other terms that really mean this and whatever. And that's the same thing with Rotary. You come into Rotary, and if you don't DAC-DV and all that stuff, people don't know that. Nobody knows what that is. So you throw out all these acronyms, and it's kind of a cheat sheet for Rotary, basically, is what we've put together that we use in the membership package. But yeah, I would be happy to share.
We're back kind of comparing it to church again with the acronyms.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Well, tell me what the Queen of Hearts is.
So we have a drawing every Tuesday at 7 p.m. You buy a chance. It's $2 for the chance. You put your name on the ticket and it goes into a spinner. We have a board, and I don't have a picture with me or I would share on my screen. We have a board, and it's a deck of cards that are all face down. There's a lot that goes into it. We had to get with the gaming licensure. We had to get charitable gaming. It's a big deal. However, I've got somebody that can talk you through it if you're interested. But this board has this deck of cards. They're all taped face down. If your chance is drawn Tuesday night at 7 p.m., you get to choose what card is turned. If the card is the Queen of Hearts, you win part of the pot. So we have a split. Rotary, we just recently changed it. So Rotary got, the winner got 60, Rotary got 40. Our biggest pot was close to 300,000. So right now, tonight's drawing should be around, I want to say our rollover last week was 25,000. So we're making, on the weeks we only sell $1,000, we're making $400 or so. And we have some expenses in there with that, but where can you make $400 a week for a Rotary Club? On a little week, a small week.
Do you do this every Thursday, like live on Facebook or something?
Yes, it's live on Facebook, and it will be tonight at 7. It's on our Rotary Facebook page if you want to hop on and watch.
So is it Tuesdays or Thursdays?
Tuesdays. Our meetings are on Thursdays. Queen of Hearts is on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm.
So Tuesday to 7, you draw.
Yeah.
And do you have it set up where the people out of community can buy something online?
We don't have it online. We are, so we were offered the spot at our local golf course. They have a restaurant and a bar area. So we set up in there. They sell tickets all week long. You have to go in person and buy your tickets. You have to follow the rules on how you fill them out. There's a lot of little things you got to make sure of, but the tickets have to be filled out correctly. $2 per chance. You can buy unlimited chances. You fill out your information, stick it in the wheel, and then at 7 p.m. we draw. So we sell tickets all throughout the week, but Rotary the golf course sells tickets all throughout the week for us. And then we come in on Tuesdays, depending on the size of the pot. When the pot was big, we would come in and start about 10 o'clock Tuesday mornings, and we would sell until 7 p.m. Tuesday night. But right now, it's enough where they can sell the tickets at the bar and not take away from their customers. So we go in about 4 or so on Tuesdays and sell till 7.
Average week, you're selling about how much?
Right now, we're about $1,500 a week total in ticket sales.
So out of that, you're keeping 40% or 60%?
We no, the winner gets 60, and we recently, I need to look because they just changed we had to change the way the payout was because the fees, we had to buy the wheels, we had to buy the tickets, we have to buy the boards, and the gaming license, the charitable gaming requires you buy your tickets and your boards through certain companies, and they are expensive. So we had to change the way that we did our payout because of the cost. It was eaten into the cost. When the pots are little, it's one thing when you're getting 130, 40,000 from your pot when the queen is turned. But when it's a smaller pot and it's drawn, you might have $1,500 in expenses. So you want to make sure all that's covered.
So how long have you been doing this?
This is going on around 2 years.
So at the end, any 12-month period, your net profit is about what?
That's hard to say right now because we really haven't. So the first 2 boards, the queen was turned. I want to say the first one was like 16,000. So the payout happened and we restart. So when you restart, your pot was only, at the time, it was only $1,000. But when we changed the payout, we changed the beginning pot. Now it's 2,500. So it depends on ticket sales as to how much your pot grows. So there's not been a long enough time to have consistent ticket sales. If that makes sense.
You have multiple queens pulled in a 12-month period, and that's when the money is realized.
That's when the payout happens. That's when we
a long time for a queen to get pulled.
And like this board has not grown as fast as our last board. And And I think it's really just happening. It's just time of year. The last one, we got shut down for COVID. And when we opened back up, man, we sold $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 tickets a week. This time, you know, can't remember how many cards we are in. I don't have my picture handy, or I could let you know, but it seems like we're like 8 or 10 cards in. The queen hasn't been turned yet, but I can share.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter to you all. I mean, you're going to be paid the same.
Yeah, we're still making money.
I mean, no, what I'm saying is, irregardless of the pot, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get half of it, or, you know, roughly half of it. And whether so, if it goes a short period of time and there's only $2,000 in it, or if it goes a long time and there's $50,000 in it, that half is still yours whenever
Yes.
it happens. Like it's
It
sitting there, right?
Yeah. And more tickets sell, the bigger the pot gets.
Right. Yeah,
So-
just like lottery too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So the gaming license wasn't, I mean, I know you said it was complex, but really it wasn't a lot.
No, so I don't know if you know Art Nearhoof. He was our president last year. This was Art and Larry Moore's kind of brainchild. They put this together as kind of out of the box. And this has just taken off. It has done, our club is able to do things we never thought we'd be able to do because of the Queen of Hearts money.
Hey, Autumn, can you say a little more now about the size of your club today and kind of what the makeup is now in terms
Sure.
of? Mhm.
We have I think we're sitting at about 26, 27 members right now. And we are a very diverse, I think across the board, we're pretty even. We have, it's just, I brag about our club all the time. The setup is amazing. We don't have 1 or 2 people that do everything. If we have 26 members, we have 26 people that show up and put the work in. So it is, we're growing. We are growing for sure.
And when you said you've been very intentional about your recruitment efforts and getting people who really are willing to roll up their sleeves and participate, is that you sitting around and thinking about like who that would be, or have you done that in collaboration with anybody else?
So some of that has been me because I have been very intentional because I wanted to handpick. We were missing a few pieces, I thought, in my eyes. So I was at the mayor, for instance. Our mayor is very supportive. He always has been. He partners with us on everything. He used to be the sheriff here. My husband was a sheriff's deputy, so I've known him for years. He and his clerk were both on my radar. The clerk helps us with our liquor license every year for our fall festival. They shut down Main Street anytime we need it, if we have a festival going on or whatever. So I was after someone from City Hall, and those two were on my radar. I got them both, but the mayor had to step down because after only a few months because of his mother's health. So he had to take things off his plate. Totally understand. But we have the clerk, and she is amazing. We were sitting at Queen of Hearts one night, and someone come in, and I looked at a fellow Rotarian that was beside me selling tickets, and I said, Ashley, we got to get her. She would be an amazing Rotarian. We didn't get her. However, she is our sponsor for our new Interact Club at the high school. So, we have been very mindful of how we choose, I guess. And we want our club to grow, but we also we don't want just warm bodies in those chairs. We want somebody that's going to put in the work. So.
What about others who are chimed in here? Do you all, Bill or Sally or Amanda, do you all have any questions you want to throw to Alan or Autumn?
No, I don't actually have a question, but we do have a card that we're kind of proud of, and on the back we've got one of those QR emblems that, and when it opens up, it gives you our website. So what's going on. So we hand these out a lot.
That's great.
I like it, Bill. Looks good.
We have a printer in our group. That's how we got them. Every group needs a printer.
Everybody needs a printer. Come on.
Travis, were there any other strategies in Bowling Green that haven't, like things that haven't been talked about from Lawrenceburg or Campbellsville that you think would be worth sharing?
You know, I'll just add real quick. One thing is that one thing that I think we've tossed out here today is that the activities of our Rotary clubs will draw people to us who are looking for us. And so I've heard a couple of different examples of people who have joined your clubs who were interested in what your clubs were doing. But also the old-fashioned way, I think, and this is what I know of a couple members in our club who just simply wrote some names down on a piece of paper, you know, and called them up and said, hey, you know, why don't you come eat lunch with us and see what we're about. So you can make it to where, I think, and in our case with General Cherry's program, the Flags for Kids program, we get a lot of publicity with that. We've been all over the newspaper, all the media. It's been really good. It's raised thousands of dollars instantly for what we've been wanting to do. I wouldn't say it's a Queen of Hearts level of fundraising. That's incredible. But we have a lot of fun doing it, and we have a really active committee. You know, those special projects allow people to come out of the shadows and be a part of something that they can be excited about. And I've seen that with our club, and I'm sure that you guys have seen it with yours as well. But at the end of the day, I'm energized to sit and think of some names of people that I know who would qualify as young professionals, who I can write their name on a piece of paper and call and say, hey, what are you doing next Wednesday at 12 o'clock? You know, let's eat lunch together. I'm going to introduce you to some people whose names you know and who you've seen around the community, but you probably don't have a relationship with. I'd like to introduce you to some of them, and you can see if we would be a fit, or if you'd be a fit for what we're wanting to do together here in our community.
Yeah. The power of invitation is really there. You know, I think Alan kicked us off with that we've all, you know, someone joins because, you know, someone you respect invited you. One other technique that I might just share, it may or may not be relevant depending on how your club is structured, but at my club in Louisville, we've instituted a category of membership called emerging leaders. We did have some young professionals tell us they hate that title. They, you know, it's, I don't know, I guess they felt like it was a little bit of a slam. So we use emerging leaders, and they do have a break on the cost of dues. So it's not quite as expensive because in our club, the cost really for some was a barrier. So that's something that you can think about too. Also, corporate membership allows multiple people to join on one company's membership. And that way you can get, it's kind of too like what you were talking about, Autumn, in terms of redundancy. So if one person leaves, you don't completely lose that organization's representation, because you've got multiple people who can share a membership. And there's a lot on Rotary International about that. And I'm happy to share how it's structured too, if anyone's interested. But I think that's a winning strategy too.
Sure. Can we just a little quick poll, kind of where does everybody's membership level cost at? Like, Autumn, what is yours in Lawrenceburg?
We worked on due. Well, actually, I didn't have anything to do with it. This happened before I came back, and our dues are like right around $80, $90 a quarter right now.
A quarter, so $307 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And does that include a meal?
No.
Yeah. So we're at $440, but that includes your food. I think it's a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're right about 200 with meals.
200 with meals a year?
Yeah. No, a quarter.
Oh, a quarter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're at $440 a year with meals.
Oh.
But we meet at the hospital, and they give us a tremendous rate. They charge us like $5 a head. So and you get a buffet and the whole 9 yards. So it's if it wasn't for that, we'd have to be a lot higher. But I was just curious.
Well, it depends. Yeah, there's such a wide variety, Alan. I think you're right. I mean, it really can be different every place. Some doing with meals and some without, but
What do you do in Louisville, Alice?
I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember what our membership dues are, but I want to say it's $750 a year without meals.
Are you downtown club?
Yes.
Do you remember Early Terry?
Mm-mm.
Okay. He was there
No.
years ago, I think. He was at one of the clubs in Louisville. I think it was a downtown club, but
Mm.
he's been dead and gone for a long time. But I knew Early like 20 years ago. So. And he was an old man then. So.
Okay, well, I don't think he's there anymore.
Yeah, probably not. I just didn't know if you were there when he was there then. So.
Well, we're almost at the end of our time. I do want to be respectful of your time, and first of all, I want to be really grateful to everybody for showing up today and sharing together, because I think that's how we learn and do better. And I've taken some great ideas away that I'm hoping we can use, not just in my club, but other clubs around the region. So I'm going to just take a real quick moment and share. Am I able to share my screen? No, I'm not going to do that because I can't find the document, but there is the district has an attraction and engagement challenge. And I'm so grateful to Autumn for saying it's not just about attraction, but it's also about engagement and retention. And really our challenge is doing both and keeping people, not just getting them, but keeping them. So after this, I'll send around some information about the attraction engagement challenge, but clubs can earn money and Paul Harris fellowships by just doing some simple things to both attract and engage people. And it's a great incentive for all those type A's that are out there that like to compete and win. So I'll shoot that to everybody as a follow-up to today, along with, just really sincere gratitude for all that you do and for the difference you're making in our communities and our world. And I want to thank Travis, my vice chair on membership for the district. Anything else you want to say, Travis, as we wrap up?
No, I echo what you just said. I think of Rotary Club, and I know that you can accomplish so many great things with just 2 or 3 or 4 people. And so to see the group that we have here, I know that you all represent that core from your clubs. So I appreciate, I guess on behalf of the district, but on behalf of me as a Rotarian, thank you for doing what you do, because you energize me to go back to my club and keep doing what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your week.